The transport ship descended through the purple clouds of Valoris Prime, and Daesung pressed his face against the small window. Below him stretched a massive complex of white buildings that seemed to go on forever. The Galactic Union Military Academy looked nothing like the pictures he had studied back on Earth. It was bigger, stranger, and somehow more real. His hands were sweating. Daesung wiped them on his plain gray uniform and took a deep breath. He was 19 years old, and he was about to become the first human to train with the galaxy's elite soldiers. The weight of that responsibility sat heavy on his shoulders. The ship landed with barely a bump. Daesung grabbed his single bag and followed the other passengers out. The moment he stepped onto the platform, he realized he was completely alone. Every other being around him was alien. Some had 4 arms. Others had scales or fur or skin that changed colors. A few floated instead of walked. They all stared at him. "You must be the human," a voice said behind him. Daesung turned to see a woman in a white medical uniform. She was human, and the relief that flooded through him was almost embarrassing. "I'm Hye-jin, medical officer and human liaison. Welcome to the academy." "Thank you," Daesung said quietly. His voice sounded small in the vast landing bay. Hye-jin smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Come on. Orientation starts in an hour. I'll show you to your quarters and give you the basics." As they walked, she spoke in low tones. "I won't lie to you, Daesung. This is going to be harder than anything you've ever done. Most of the instructors don't think humans belong here. They think we're too weak, too slow, too fragile. Why did they accept me then?" Daesung asked. "Politics. The Galactic Union wants to show they're inclusive. But wanting to look good and actually believing in you are 2 different things." She stopped outside a door that slid open with a soft hiss. "This is your room. You have 45 minutes. Don't be late." The room was small and plain. A bed, a desk, a storage unit. Daesung sat on the bed and it felt strange under him. Too soft and too springy at the same time. He thought about home. The farm where he had grown up. His mother's face when she heard he had been accepted. His father's rough hand on his shoulder. His little sister crying because he was leaving. He had spent every day of his life doing hard work. Carrying heavy loads, working the fields from sunrise to sunset. His body was strong from that life, but would it be enough here? A chime sounded. Time to go. The orientation hall was enormous. Rows and rows of seats filled with alien recruits. Daesung counted roughly 200 beings. He spotted 2 other humans sitting together near the back and felt a small spark of hope. He wasn't completely alone after all, but he sat by himself in an empty row. He wanted to see everything, to understand what he was facing. A holographic display appeared at the front of the hall. An older alien with gray skin and too many eyes began speaking. The words came through a translator device in Daesung's ear. The alien explained the history of the academy, the honor of serving in the Galactic Union Special Forces, the standards they would all be held to. Then the display changed. It showed a chart of planets ranked by something called world classification. As you can see, the instructor said, most civilized species evolve on Class 2 through Class 4 worlds. These are planets with stable climates, moderate gravity, and manageable challenges. They produce intelligent life that can develop technology and culture. The chart highlighted different planets showing their classifications. Most of the recruits' homeworlds were Class 3 or 4. However, the instructor continued, there are rare exceptions. Extreme worlds that somehow produce sapient life despite incredible dangers. We call these death worlds. The display changed to show a blue and green planet, Earth. It was marked as Class 9. This is one such world. The 3rd human to ever attend this academy comes from Earth. Stand up, recruit. Every eye in the hall turned to Daesung. He stood slowly, feeling his face grow hot. Earth has 18 times the standard gravity of civilized worlds, the instructor said. It is home to thousands of species of predators. Its diseases have killed billions throughout its history. Temperature extremes range from boiling to freezing. It has active volcanism, massive storms, and an atmosphere that would corrode most of our technology. How humans survived there is a mystery we're still studying. A massive figure stood up several rows ahead. It was easily 8 feet tall, covered in dark green scales that looked like armor plating. Its eyes were yellow and cold. If their world is so dangerous, the figure said in a deep, rumbling voice, why do they look so weak? Some of the other recruits laughed. Daesung felt anger flash through him but kept his face neutral. "That," the instructor said, "is a question for them to answer, Sergeant Vrelt. Please, sit down, Sergeant Vrelt." Daesung memorized the name and the face. The Saurian sat down slowly, never taking his eyes off Daesung. The message was clear. Daesung sat down as well. The rest of orientation passed in a blur. They were given schedules, assigned to training units, and dismissed. Daesung walked out and immediately someone shoved past him, knocking his shoulder hard. It was Sergeant Vrelt. "Watch where you're going, Deathworlder," Vrelt growled. "Or are your precious survival instincts not working?" Daesung said nothing. He simply stepped aside and let the massive alien pass. Behind him he heard whispers and more laughter. "Don't engage with him," a voice said. Daesung turned to see one of the other humans, a young man about his age. "I'm watching what you're doing. Smart. He wants you to react." "I know," Daesung said quietly. "I'm Kwansu. That's young me." He pointed to the young woman with him. "We should stick together." "Maybe," Daesung said. "But they'll target all of us if we group up too obviously." Kwansu frowned. "You think like a tactician already." "I think like someone from a dangerous place," Daesung corrected. "Same thing." The next morning, training began before sunrise. Daesung learned that sunrise on Valoris Prime was green and came fast. One moment there was darkness, the next there was light. They gathered in the training yard. 200 recruits arranged in neat rows. Sergeant Vrelt walked between the rows, inspecting everyone. When he reached Daesung, he stopped. "Let me guess," Vrelt said loudly. "Farm boy. You have that look. Soft hands from pushing plants into dirt." Daesung looked straight ahead and said nothing. "I asked you a question, recruit." "Yes, Sergeant," Daesung said. "My family farms." "Perfect." Vrelt's laugh was like rocks grinding together. "A farmer playing soldier. Your Deathworld must be very desperate." He leaned down, his massive head close to Daesung's face. His breath smelled like copper and meat. "Let me tell you something, boy. My people are warriors. We have fought for 10,000 years and never lost a single warrior in honest combat. You come from a world of running and hiding from predators. There's a difference between surviving and fighting. You're going to learn that difference here, and it's going to break you." Vrelt straightened up and moved on. Daesung remained perfectly still, his face showing nothing. But inside he felt something cold settle into his chest. Not fear, not anger. Something else. The same feeling he got back home when he spotted a wild boar near the fields. The same feeling that made him grab the right tool and move the right way. The feeling of knowing exactly what kind of creature he was dealing with. Training started with physical assessment. Running, lifting, climbing, combat drills. Daesung performed adequately. Not the best, not the worst. Exactly average compared to the alien recruits. But he noticed something. The gravity here was lighter than Earth. Everything felt just slightly easier than it should. He made sure not to show it. When they broke for their first meal, Heejin found him. "You're holding back," she said quietly. "I'm being careful," Daesung replied. "Vrelt has his eyes on you. He's politically connected, untouchable. Be very, very careful." Daesung nodded. He understood. He was a long way from home, in a place where the rules were different. But some things were the same everywhere. Patience, observation, knowing when to act and when to wait. He could be patient. He had been doing it his whole life. Back on Earth, you learned to respect the dangerous things. You didn't provoke them. You didn't underestimate them. But you also didn't fear them. You studied them, understood them, and when the time came, you dealt with them. Sergeant Vrelt was dangerous, but he was also predictable, and he had made a mistake. He thought Daesung was prey. Daesung finished his meal and returned to training. The first day was just beginning. 3 weeks passed like 3 years. Every day started the same way. Sergeant Vrelt would find Daesung during morning formation and say something meant to hurt. Every day, Daesung would stand silent and take it. Every day, it got a little bit harder to stay quiet. The Deathworlder who moves like a garden slug became Vrelt's favorite greeting. Sometimes it was, "Did your planet teach you to be this slow, or is it natural talent?" Other times, Vrelt would simply walk past and knock Daesung's equipment to the ground, then write him up for having an untidy station. The other alien recruits watched these exchanges. Most of them started treating Daesung the same way. Small shoves in the corridor. Accidentally taking his seat in the meal hall. Laughing when he spoke. It was like they had all received permission to be cruel, and they took it eagerly, but not all of them. Two recruits named Kethrix and Mulvar began sitting with Daesung during meals. Kethrix was a being made of something like crystal that changed colors when he was thinking hard. Mulvar had fur and 6 legs and reminded Daesung of the cats back home, except much bigger and able to talk. "Why does Vrelt hate you so much?" Kethrix asked one evening. His body flickered orange with curiosity. "Because I'm different," Daesung said simply, "and because he can." "It's not right," Mulvar said, his tail twitching with agitation. "You work as hard as anyone. Harder than most." "The rules are different for me," Daesung said. "I accepted that when I came here." What he didn't tell them was that the work wasn't hard. Not really. The gravity on Valoris Prime was so much lighter than Earth that carrying heavy equipment felt easy. The running exercises that left other recruits gasping barely made him breathe hard. His body had been built by Earth's crushing weight his entire life. Here he felt almost light, but he kept that hidden. Something told him it was important to appear average, unremarkable, not a threat. In the 4th week, everything changed. A new human recruit arrived. His name was Jiwon, and he was different from Daesung in every way that mattered. Where Daesung was quiet, Jiwon was loud. Where Daesung bent like grass in the wind, Jiwon stood like a stone wall. He came from a city on Earth, from a family of fighters, and he had no patience for disrespect. On his 2nd day, Sergeant Vrelt tried the same tactics he used on Daesung, another soft Deathworlder. Vrelt announced to the training yard. "Tell me, recruit, do all humans cry as easily as they break?" Jiwon looked up at the massive Saurian and smiled. "Why don't you try me and find out, Sergeant?" The training yard went completely silent. No one spoke to Vrelt that way, ever. Vrelt's eyes narrowed. "What did you say, recruit?" "I said," Jiwon repeated slowly, "why don't you try me and find out?" Daesung felt his stomach drop. He wanted to shout at Jiwon to stop, to be quiet, to understand that this was a game they couldn't win by fighting. But it was too late. A formal challenge would not be appropriate, Vrelt said, his voice dangerous and low. However, training exercises can be very educational, and sometimes accidents happen during training. That afternoon, they did combat drills. The recruits were paired off to practice hand-to-hand techniques. Vrelt personally selected Jiwon's partner, himself. Daesung watched from his place in line. He saw Hee-jin standing at the edge of the training yard, her face worried. She knew what was coming. They all knew. "Standard drill," Vrelt announced. "I attack, you defend." Simple enough even for a human. Jiwon set himself in a defensive stance. He had training, Daesung could see that. Good training. But Vrelt had size, reach, strength, and experience that covered centuries. The drill started. Vrelt moved with speed that shouldn't have been possible for something so large. His first strike was a straightforward punch. Jiwon blocked it, but the impact drove him back 3 steps. The second strike came before he could reset. Then the third. Then a sweep kick that Jiwon barely jumped over. "Faster, recruit," Vrelt said. "Your reflexes are too slow." Jiwon tried to counter, moving in close like fighters were taught to do against larger opponents. It was the right strategy. But Vrelt had been fighting for longer than Jiwon had been alive. The Saurian caught Jiwon's arm mid-strike, twisted, and there was a sound like a branch breaking. Jiwon screamed. The sound cut through the training yard like a knife. Vrelt released him immediately, stepping back with exaggerated concern. "Oh no, it seems the recruit couldn't handle basic training. Medical team, please assist." Hee-jin and her staff rushed forward. Daesung broke formation and ran to Jiwon's side. The other human was on the ground, clutching his arm. It bent at an angle that arms weren't supposed to bend. "I'm sorry." Jiwon gasped through tears of pain. "I'm sorry, I thought I could—" "Don't talk," Hee-jin said sharply, already scanning the injury with her medical device. "Compound fracture. Possible nerve damage. Get him to the medical bay now." They carried Jiwon away on a stretcher. Daesung watched them go. His fists clenched so tight his nails cut into his palms. "A tragedy," Vrelt announced to the assembled recruits. "But this is why standards exist. Some beings are simply not built for military service. Humans are too fragile. Their bones snap like dry twigs. Perhaps we should reconsider their presence here entirely." Daesung felt every eye turned to him. The only human left in the training yard. Vrelt walked over slowly, deliberately. He stood directly in front of Daesung, blocking out the green sun. "What about you, farm boy?" Vrelt asked. "Do you want to continue this foolish dream? Or will you accept reality and go home to your dirt and plants?" Something in Daesung's mind became very clear, very simple. He had spent weeks being patient, being careful, swallowing his anger and his pride, waiting for the right moment, trying to survive by being invisible. But Jiwon was hurt, badly hurt, because Vrelt wanted to prove a point, because Vrelt enjoyed causing pain to beings he considered beneath him. And if Daesung stayed silent now, Vrelt would do it again, and again, until all the humans were gone or broken. Back on the farm, Daesung's father had taught him many things. How to work hard, how to be patient, how to respect dangerous things. But he had also taught him one more lesson, demonstrated the day a wild dog attacked Daesung's little sister. Sometimes patience ends. Sometimes you have to fight. Daesung looked up at Sergeant Vrelt. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't show anger. He kept his face calm and his words steady. "I invoke Galactic Combat Protocol 7, Daesung said.
Formal challenge.
Single combat. You and me." The training yard exploded with noise. Recruits shouting in surprise. Some laughing. Some gasping. Vrelt stared down at Daesung with an expression of pure disbelief. "You want to challenge me?" Vrelt asked. "Do you have any idea what you're doing?" "Yes, Sergeant," Daesung said. "I'm challenging you to formal combat. It's my right as a recruit. You have to accept or explain to Commander Thex why you're afraid to fight me." Vrelt's eyes went wide. Then he laughed. It was a terrible sound, full of genuine amusement. "Afraid of you? Oh, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect." He leaned down close. "I accept your challenge, little human. And when I'm done with you, there won't be enough left to send home to your family. They'll weigh you in a bag." "We'll see," Daesung said quietly. Vrelt stood back up and addressed the entire yard. "You all heard it. The Deathworlder challenges me. We'll settle this in the arena tomorrow at noon. Spread the word. Everyone should see what happens when prey animals try to act like predators." That evening, Daesung sat in the medical bay with Jiwon. The other human's arm was wrapped in some kind of healing cast that glowed softly. "I'm sorry," Jiwon said again. "I was stupid. I let my pride make me weak." "You were brave," Daesung corrected. "You just fought the wrong way." "And you'll fight the right way?" Jiwon asked. His eyes were worried. "Daesung, he's going to kill you." I felt his strength. "It's not natural. You can't beat him." "Maybe," Daesung agreed. "But I have to try." Heejin came in carrying a data pad. Her face was pale. "I've been researching Vrelt. Daesung, he's fought 12 sanctioned challenges. 3 of his opponents died. The others were permanently disabled. He doesn't know how to hold back, and he doesn't want to learn. Please withdraw the challenge. There's no shame in it." "Yes, there is," Daesung said. "Not for me. For every human who comes after me. If I run now, it tells everyone that we're what Vrelt says we are. Weak, fragile, not worthy. Better alive and ashamed than dead and proud," Heijin said. Daesung shook his head. "Back home we have wild boars. They're dangerous. They have tusks and bad tempers. When I was 12, one charged my father. He couldn't run. My little sister was behind him. So he stood his ground with just a farming tool and his courage. He killed that boar. Got hurt doing it, but he won." "Vrelt isn't a boar," Heejin said. "No," Daesung agreed. "But the principle is the same. Sometimes running isn't an option. Sometimes you have to stand and fight even if you might lose, especially then." He spent the rest of the evening in his room thinking about home, about the farm, about the weight of earth that had pressed down on him every day of his life, about carrying loads that should have been impossible, about working until his body screamed and then working more. Earth had made him strong, but more than that, it had taught him endurance, the ability to keep going when everything hurt, when giving up would be easier, when stopping would be a mercy. The arena was built into the side of a mountain. It was an ancient place, carved from dark stone that had witnessed thousands of battles. The morning sun cast long shadows across the fighting floor as Daesung walked through the entrance tunnel. His footsteps echoed in the silence. The arena could hold 5,000 spectators. Every seat was full. Word had spread across the entire academy and beyond. Everyone wanted to see the human who was stupid enough to challenge Sergeant Vrelt. Some came to watch courage. Most came to watch execution. Daesung stepped onto the fighting floor and looked around. The arena was circular, about 50 meters across. The floor was smooth stone with grip patterns carved into it. High walls rose up to the seats, too high to climb. Once you entered the arena, you left when the fight was over. No other way. Across from him, the opposite tunnel opened. Sergeant Vrelt emerged and the crowd roared. The massive Saurian raised his arms and soaked in the attention. He was stripped down to basic combat gear that showed off his armored scales. In the bright sunlight, they gleamed like polished metal. Each scale was as big as Daesung's hand. Vrelt saw Daesung and grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth. He walked to the center of the arena and waited. Daesung walked forward to meet him. With each step, he felt calmer. The noise of the crowd faded away. The fear in his chest became something else. Not confidence. More like acceptance. Whatever happened in the next few minutes, he had chosen this path. A referee stood between them. It was Commander Thex himself, the station commander. The old alien looked at both fighters with unreadable eyes. "The challenge has been issued and accepted," Commander Thex announced. His voice carried throughout the arena without needing amplification. "This is a sanctioned combat under Galactic Protocol 7. The rules are simple. No weapons. No external aids. Fight until one combatant submits or is unable to continue. Medical teams stand ready." Do both fighters understand? "Yes, Commander," they said together. "Sergeant Vrelt, as the challenge party, do you have any words?" Vrelt looked down at Daesung. "I want everyone here to remember this. This is what happens when lesser species try to stand with warriors. This Deathworlder's planet may be harsh, but surviving harsh conditions doesn't make you a fighter. It makes you a survivor. There's a difference. Today I'll teach everyone that difference," the crowd cheered. Daesung noticed most of them were cheering for Vrelt. But not all. He spotted Kethrix and Molvar in the stands, their faces worried. He saw the other human recruits sitting together, watching in silence. He saw Hyejin with the medical team, her hands clasped tight. "Daesung, do you have any words?" Commander Thex asked. Daesung thought for a moment. Then he spoke, his voice quiet but steady. "My father told me once that the strongest tree is the one that bends in the storm. The one that stands rigid breaks. I came here to learn. Today I'll teach something too." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't threatening. Half the crowd probably didn't even understand what he meant, but Vrelt's smile faltered just slightly. "Take your positions," Commander Thex said. He backed away to the edge of the arena. "Fight!" Vrelt charged immediately. There was no hesitation, no caution. He came straight at Daesung like a boulder rolling down a hill. His footsteps shook the ground. His roar echoed off the stone walls. Daesung sidestepped. Not a dive. Not a desperate lunge. Just a smooth step to the left, and Vrelt thundered past him. The Saurian slid to a stop and turned, his eyes wide with surprise. "Stand still," Vrelt snarled. He charged again. Daesung stepped right this time. Then back, then left again. Each time, Vrelt's massive fists hit empty air where Daesung had been a heartbeat before. Each time, Daesung didn't attack back. He just moved, watched, learned. The crowd started murmuring. This wasn't what they expected. They thought they'd see the human get crushed in the first exchange. Instead, they were watching something that looked almost like a dance. A deadly one. Vrelt was getting angry. Daesung could see it in the way the Saurian's movements became wilder, less controlled. Anger made people stupid. His father had taught him that too. A angry farmer made mistakes. A angry hunter missed his shot. A angry fighter left openings. Daesung kept moving. His breathing was steady. The arena's gravity was so light compared to Earth. He felt like he could move forever. His muscles weren't even tired yet. He was used to carrying 60-kilogram bags of grain in gravity, almost twice this heavy. Dodging Vrelt was actually easier than morning chores, but he couldn't dodge forever. Eventually, he would make a mistake or Vrelt would get lucky. He needed to understand his opponent first. Learn the patterns, see the weaknesses. Vrelt threw a combination. Left fist high, right fist low, tail sweep. Daesung ducked the first, jumped the second, and the tail caught his leg. He went down hard. The crowd gasped. Vrelt was on him in an instant, bringing both fists down in a hammer blow. Daesung rolled, and the fists cratered the stone where his head had been. Chips of rock flew everywhere. If that had connected, it would have killed him instantly. Daesung rolled again and came up in a crouch. Vrelt turned and kicked. The kick caught Daesung in the chest and sent him flying backward. He hit the ground and slid, pain exploding through his ribs. The crowd roared. For a moment, Daesung couldn't breathe. The kick had knocked the air from his lungs. He could taste blood in his mouth. Every instinct screamed at him to stay down, to give up, to make the pain stop. But he had been hurt before. Worse than this. The time he fell off the barn roof. The time the plow horse kicked him. The time he worked 3 days straight during harvest and his body simply stopped listening to him. Pain was something he knew, something he understood. He got to his feet slowly. Blood dripped from his mouth onto the stone. The crowd went quiet again. They couldn't believe he was standing. Vrelt stared at him. "You should stay down," the Saurian said. He actually sounded confused. "Why are you standing?" "Because I'm not done," Daesung said. He spat blood and set himself in a fighting stance. A real one this time. Not defensive. Not running. Ready to attack. Vrelt's eyes narrowed. "Fine. Die on your feet then." He charged again, but this time Daesung saw it differently. He had been watching for 5 minutes, learning. Every fighter had patterns. Vrelt was strong and fast, but he relied on his reach and power. He struck high because he was tall. He followed certain combinations. He expected his opponents to fear him. That was his weakness. He was predictable, and he had no idea what Daesung could really do. Daesung had been holding back for weeks, moving normally, acting average, hiding his real strength because something told him to wait, to stay invisible until it mattered. Now it mattered. Vrelt threw a straight punch aimed at Daesung's head. Instead of dodging, Daesung stepped into it. He brought his hands up and caught Vrelt's fist. Both of his hands wrapped around Vrelt's massive hand and stopped it cold. The arena went dead silent. Vrelt stared at his fist, trapped in Daesung's grip. He tried to pull back. Couldn't. His eyes went wide. What numbed Daesung squeezed? Not with anger. Not with rage. Just steady, relentless pressure. The same pressure he used when he twisted roots out of hard ground. When he wrung water from heavy cloth. When he shaped metal tools by hand because the forge was broken and the work couldn't wait. He squeezed, and Vrelt's armored scales began to crack. The sound was like ice breaking on a frozen lake. Small cracks spreading, then bigger ones. Vrelt's expression changed from confusion to shock to pain. He tried to punch with his other hand. Daesung caught that one too. Now he held both of Vrelt's hands and he squeezed both of them. The Saurian's armored scales cracked more. The bones underneath began to bend. Vrelt roared, not in anger now but in pain. Real pain. Probably the first real pain he had felt in decades. Daesung looked up into Vrelt's yellow eyes. His face was calm. "You said survivors aren't fighters," Daesung said quietly, just loud enough for Vrelt to hear. "You were wrong. Survivors are the most dangerous fighters, because we know how to endure, how to wait, how to hurt and keep going. You've never had to survive. You've only had to be strong. But strength without endurance is just brittle power." He squeezed harder. The sound of cracking bone echoed through the silent arena. Vrelt screamed. It was a terrible sound. The sound of someone who had never known defeat suddenly understanding what it felt like. Daesung released one hand and stepped back. Vrelt clutched his broken hands to his chest, staggering. His confident grin was gone. His certainty was shattered along with his bones. The crowd was making noise again, but it was different now. Shocked, confused. Some were cheering. Some were silent. No one had expected this. Vrelt looked at his broken hands, then at Daesung. Something in his eyes had changed. The casual cruelty was gone. Now there was respect. "And fear, yield," Daesung said. "You can't fight with broken hands. This is over." "No," Vrelt growled. He charged again, trying to use his size and weight, trying to shoulder-check Daesung into the wall. Daesung sidestepped and struck, a precise blow to Vrelt's knee joint, the joint that supported all that massive weight. He hit it from the side and it bent wrong. Vrelt crashed down onto one knee, another strike. This one to Vrelt's shoulder. Daesung had spent 5 minutes watching. He knew where the armor plates met, where the soft tissue was, where a human-sized fighter could hurt a giant. Daesung sat in the medical examination room while He-Jin ran scanners over his body. The machines hummed and beeped, showing images of his bones, muscles, and organs on a floating display. Other medical staff crowded around, their faces showing fascination and disbelief. 3 cracked ribs, He-Jin said, reading the results. Extensive bruising. Minor internal bleeding that's already clotting, and somehow you're sitting here calmly like you just finished a light workout. She shook her head. "Your pain tolerance is insane." "It hurts," Daesung admitted. "But I've been hurt before. Not like this," one of the other medical staff said. She was a being with blue skin and tentacles instead of arms. That kick from Vrelt should have shattered your entire ribcage. It would have killed most species instantly. How are you even conscious? Bone density, another staff member said, studying the scans closely. Look at this. His bones are almost 3 times denser than standard, and the muscle fiber structure is completely different. Tighter, more efficient. This is incredible. Daesung looked at the scans with mild interest. He had never thought about his body this way. To him, his strength was normal. Everyone on Earth was like this. It was just how humans were built. Can I go? He asked. I want to check on Sergeant Frelt. Why? Heejin asked, surprised. He tried to kill you. Because that's what you do, Daesung said simply. The fight is over. Now we take care of the wounded. You are wounded, Heejin pointed out. He's worse. She sighed and stepped back. Fine, but you need to rest. Your body is tough, but it's not invincible. 3 days of light duty only. 1 day, Daesung said. Training doesn't stop because I'm sore. 2 days. Final offer. Deal. Daesung found Vrelt in the intensive care section of the medical bay. The Saurian was lying on a bed that had been specially made for his size. His hands were wrapped in some kind of glowing healing casts. So was his knee and his tail. Monitors surrounded him, displaying vital signs that Daesung couldn't read. Vrelt saw him and his eyes widened. UB, Daesung agreed. He pulled up a chair and sat down. How are you feeling? Like I was crushed by a cargo shuttle, Vrelt said. His voice was rough with pain. The doctors say my hands will heal, but it will take weeks. Maybe months. My knee is damaged. My tail is fractured in 3 places. He looked at Daesung with an expression that was hard to read. You destroyed me. I defended myself, Daesung corrected. You challenged. I responded. No, Vrelt said. You did more than that. You taught me something. Something I should have learned centuries ago. He was quiet for a moment, and when he spoke again, his voice was different. Softer. Thoughtful. I always believed strength was about power, about being the biggest, the strongest, the most dangerous. My species built our entire culture on that belief. We are warriors, we fight. We win. That's not wrong, Daesung said. It's not complete, Vrelt countered. Today you showed me what I was missing. I watched you in that arena. I saw you take my best kick and stand up. I saw you move like water while I moved like stone. I saw you wait and learn while I attacked blindly. You had been studying me for weeks, hadn't you? Every time I mocked you, every time I pushed you, you were watching. Learning. Planning. Daesung didn't deny it. I mistook patience for weakness, Vrelt continued. I mistook observation for fear. I mistook your restraint for inability. But you were holding back the entire time. You could have fought me weeks ago. You chose not to. Why? Because fighting should be the last option, Daesung said. Not the first. Back home we have dangerous animals. If you fight them every time you see them, eventually you lose. But if you avoid them, study them, and only fight when necessary, you survive. I learned that as a child. Your Deathworld taught you well, Vrelt said. Better than I gave it credit for. Better than I gave you credit for. He looked down at his broken hands. I have fought for 300 years. I have defeated warriors from a dozen species. I have never been beaten in sanctioned combat. But today, a 19-year-old farm boy from a backwater planet destroyed me. The shame is overwhelming. There's no shame in losing, Daesung said. Only in not learning from it. Vrelt's eyes met his. How are you not angry with me? I humiliated you for weeks. I injured your friend. I tried to kill you in that arena. Yet you sit here speaking to me with respect and kindness. Why? Daesung thought about how to explain it. On Earth we have seasons. Sometimes the weather's good. Sometimes it's terrible. Storms come. Droughts happen. You can't be angry at the weather. It just is. You survive it and move on. He shrugged carefully, mindful of his ribs. You were like bad weather. Dangerous, but not personal. Being angry wouldn't help me survive. Understanding you would. I was not weather, Vrelt said firmly. I was cruel. I was arrogant. I was wrong. Please don't diminish what I did by making it sound like a natural force. He took a deep breath that seemed to hurt. I apologize, truly. Not because you beat me, but because I should never have treated you that way in the first place. You came here to learn and serve, and I made your life miserable because of my own prejudice and pride. Daesung nodded. Apology accepted. Just like that? Just like that. Holding grudges takes energy. I'd rather use that energy for something useful. Vrelt laughed, then winced because laughing hurt. You are a strange being, Daesung of Earth. but I am glad you exist. The galaxy needs more beings like you." He paused. "Will you tell me something? How strong are you, really? I felt your grip. That was not the strength of someone barely surviving. That was predator strength." "Humans aren't predators," Daesung said. "Not exactly. Then what are you?" "Persistence hunters," Daesung said. "Back before we had technology, humans hunted by chasing animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. We can't outrun most animals. We can't overpower most animals. But we can outlast them. We can keep going when everything else stops. That's what Earth made us. Not the fastest. Not the strongest. But the hardest to stop." "Terrifying," Vrelt said. "Absolutely terrifying." Over the next few days, word of the fight spread beyond the Academy. News services across the Galactic Union picked up the story. A human from a death world had defeated a legendary Saurian warrior. Scientists started asking questions. Military analysts wanted to understand how. Politicians argued about what it meant. Admiral Corsi arrived on the 4th day. She was a high-ranking officer in the Galactic Union military, responsible for overseeing training programs across dozens of planets. She called Daesung to her temporary office in the command building. "Sit," she said. She was a tall being with gray skin and large black eyes that seemed to look through rather than at things. "Do you know why I'm here?" "Because I fought Sergeant Vrelt," Daesung said. "No, I'm here because you won." She pulled up a holographic display showing footage of the fight. "This has been watched by over 2 billion beings in the last 4 days. It's causing quite a stir. Some people are calling it a fluke. Others are demanding investigations. A few are claiming you cheated somehow. I need to know the truth." "What truth, Admiral? How did you do it?" she asked bluntly. "Vrelt is a trained warrior with centuries of experience. You're a farm boy with no formal combat training, yet you dismantled him like he was a training dummy. Explain." Daesung considered his words carefully. "Earth has high gravity, almost twice the standard. I've lived in that gravity my whole life. I've worked in it, carried loads in it, built strength in it without even trying. When I came here, everything felt lighter, easier. I could move faster, hit harder, endure longer." "That explains physical capability," Admiral Corse said. "It doesn't explain tactical awareness. You fought smart, patient. You studied your opponent and exploited his weaknesses. Where did you learn that?" "From surviving," Daesung said. "Earth taught me. When something is trying to kill you, you learn to watch it carefully, to see patterns, to find the moment when you can act. Farming taught me patience. Animals taught me timing. Poverty taught me efficiency. I didn't learn these things in a school. I learned them by living." The Admiral studied him for a long moment. Then she pulled up more data. "We've been researching Earth since your victory. The data is shocking. Your planet has gravity 18 times standard. Your atmosphere contains higher oxygen levels than 90% of known worlds. Your surface temperature swings from boiling to freezing depending on location. You have thousands of species of predators, many capable of killing humans easily. Your microbial life is so aggressive that visitors need extensive medical protection just to visit safely." She paused, and the display changed to show anatomical comparisons. Human bone density is 3.2 times galactic average. Your muscle fiber composition is unique. Your cardiovascular system is incredibly efficient. Your immune system is strong enough that diseases that would kill most species barely make you sick. And your pain tolerance is off the charts. You're not just strong. You're built to survive in conditions that would kill almost any other sapient species. "We're just normal humans," Daesung said. "Everyone from Earth is like this." "That's exactly my point," Admiral Corse said. She leaned forward. "Do you?" 3 years passed. Daesung stood at the front of the graduation hall in his formal uniform. The black and silver insignia on his chest marked him as top of his class. Around him, nearly 200 recruits stood in perfect formation. They had all survived the training. They had all earned their place. But only one of them had changed everything. The ceremony was elaborate. Speeches from commanders, presentations of honors, recognition of achievement. Daesung barely listened. His mind wandered back over the years, remembering the journey that had brought him to this moment. After the fight with Vrelt, everything had changed. Not overnight, not dramatically, but slowly, steadily, like water wearing down stone. The other recruits had started treating him differently. Some with respect, some with fear, a few with resentment. But none of them dismissed him anymore. He was no longer invisible, no longer ignorable. He was the human who had broken the legendary Sergeant Vrelt. That meant something. The training had continued. Daesung had worked harder than anyone, not to prove himself anymore, but because he genuinely wanted to learn. He studied tactics. He practiced combat. He learned about weapons, strategy, leadership. He absorbed everything the academy could teach him, and he helped others. When recruits struggled with physical training, he showed them techniques for conserving energy. When they couldn't understand tactics, he explained them simply. When they felt overwhelmed, he reminded them that everyone struggled. The key was to keep going. Kethrix and Molvar had become his close friends. They studied together, trained together, and supported each other through the hardest days. Jiwan had recovered and returned to training, more careful but no less determined. Other human recruits had arrived over the years, inspired by Daesung's example. The humans formed their own small community within the academy, but they didn't isolate themselves. They integrated. They proved themselves individually and as a group. Sergeant Vrelt had recovered over several months. His hands healed, though they would never be quite the same. His knee required surgery, but eventually regained most of its function. His tail mended, but the biggest change was in his attitude. Vrelt had requested to continue teaching, but in a different way. He became an instructor focused on tactical thinking rather than just physical prowess. He taught recruits to study their opponents, to find weaknesses, to fight smart rather than just hard. And he treated everyone with respect, especially the humans. He and Daesung had developed an unlikely friendship. They trained together sometimes, Vrelt teaching techniques, Daesung teaching patience. The massive Saurian had even visited Earth once, struggling with the heavy gravity but gaining enormous respect for what humans endured every day. "No wonder you're all so strong," Vrelt had said, gasping for breath after a simple walk around Daesung's family farm. "Living here is like training with weights you can never take off." Now, standing in the graduation hall, Daesung thought about all of it. The struggle, the pain, the small victories and the big one. The friendships formed, the lessons learned, the person he had become. "Recruit Daesung," a voice called. Commander Thek stood at the podium. "Please step forward." Daesung walked to the stage. The eyes of everyone in the hall followed him. He kept his expression calm, his movements precise. "Just like always," Commander Thek smiled. "Cadet Daesung has achieved the highest scores in both tactical assessment and physical performance. He has demonstrated leadership, dedication, and the ability to overcome any challenge placed before him. It is my honor to award him the Star of Excellence, the Academy's highest honor." The commander placed a medal around Daesung's neck. It was heavy, made of some kind of crystalline material that caught the light. The audience applauded. Daesung bowed respectfully and returned to his place in formation. After the ceremony ended, there was a reception. Daesung found himself surrounded by well-wishers. Some were genuine, some were political, wanting to be associated with the famous Deathworlder. He handled them all politely but kept his responses brief. Heejin found him near the refreshment tables. She hugged him tightly. "I can't believe it's over. It feels like yesterday you were stepping off that transport ship looking lost and scared." "I was scared," Daesung admitted. "Still am sometimes." "That's what makes you smart," she said. "Fear keeps you careful, but you never let it stop you." She held up a drink in toast. "To the Deathworld kid, the farm boy who changed the galaxy." "Please don't call me that," Daesung said with a slight smile. "It's embarrassing. Too late. The name is everywhere. You're famous whether you like it or not." Famous. It was strange to think about. Back home he was just Daesung, his father's son, a farmer, nothing special. Here he was a symbol, a representative of humanity, a proof that Deathworlds produced more than just survivors. The news services had followed his entire time at the academy. Every test, every achievement, the story of the human who defeated Vrelt had grown into something bigger. It became a story about potential, about not judging beings by where they came from, about giving everyone a fair chance. Other Deathworld species had started applying to the academy. They arrived cautiously, expecting discrimination, but they found a different environment than Daesung had. One that respected harsh origins, one that understood that difficult conditions created capable beings. The change wasn't complete. Prejudice still existed. but it was weaker now. Less certain, Ambassador Wanshik approached. He was an older human, dignified and careful in his movements. He had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Union for 20 years. Congratulations, Daesung. Your family would be proud. Your planet is proud. Thank you, Ambassador. I have news, Wanshik said. The Union has approved the Earth training facility. Construction begins next year. They want you to help design the program. You'll be working with Admiral Kors directly. I'm ready, Daesung said. I know you are. But there's more. Wanshik lowered his voice. They're offering you a position with special operations. Direct combat missions, high risk, high importance. It's what everyone trains for, but few achieve. You've earned it. Daesung felt excitement mixed with nervousness. What kind of missions? The kind that can't fail. The kind that need the best. Wanshik studied him. You don't have to accept. You could take a teaching position. Work on the Earth facility. Live a safer life. What do you think I should do? I think you should do what you came here to do, Wanshik said. Serve. Prove that humans belong among the stars. Show everyone what we're capable of. He smiled. But also I think you should stay yourself. Don't let fame or duty change who you are. You're strong because you're genuine, because you care about others, because you remember where you came from. Keep that no matter where you go. Later that evening, Daesung found himself alone on an observation deck. Through the massive window, he could see the stars, billions of them, scattered across the darkness like seeds in a field. Somewhere out there was Earth, home. He pulled out his communication device and recorded a message to his family. Hi, everyone. Today was graduation. I finished top of my class. They gave me a medal. He held it up to the camera. It's pretty, but honestly, I'd trade it for one of Mom's dinners right now. He smiled. I wanted to tell you something. When I left Earth, I thought I was leaving to prove that humans were good enough, that we deserved respect. But I learned something different. We don't need to prove anything to anyone. We just need to be ourselves. Everything that Earth taught us, all the hardship and struggle, that's our strength. Not because it makes us tough, but because it makes us real. He paused, thinking about how to express what he felt. I fought a legendary warrior and won. People say it was amazing, but the truth is I won because of you. Dad, you taught me patience. Mom, you taught me kindness. Little sister, you taught me why protecting others matters. Everything I am comes from home, from Earth, from family. They want me to join special operations. I'm going to accept. It's dangerous, but it's why I came here. To serve, to help. To show that humans can stand with any being in the galaxy. I'll be careful. I promise. But I also need to do this. He looked out at the stars again. I miss home. I miss the heavy gravity and the way rain sounds on the barn roof. I miss the smell of the fields and the taste of real food. But I'm doing something important here. Something that matters. And I think that's what you taught me most of all. To do work that matters even when it's hard. I'll visit soon. Maybe bring some friends. Frelt wants to see the farm again. He still talks about that time he tried to help with harvest and nearly collapsed after an hour. Daesung laughed softly. Take care of each other. I love you all. He ended the recording and sent it. Then he just stood there looking at the stars, feeling strangely at peace. Footsteps behind him. Frelt's heavy tread was unmistakable. The Saurian came to stand beside him at the window. Can't sleep? Frelt asked. Thinking, Daesung said. About everything that happened. About what comes next. Nervous? Yes. Good. Means you're smart. Frelt looked out at the stars too. I wanted to thank you again. For teaching me. For not hating me. For giving me a chance to become better. You taught me too, Daesung said. You taught me that everyone can change. That mistakes don't define us. How we respond to them does.